Us Lahoris are extremely proud of our city, probably more so than most other cities in Pakistan. And there is no Lahore without Ganga Ram. And so anyone who is really proud of this city and our heritage, they know who Ganga Ram is. So we have not forgotten Sir Ganga Ram in Lahore by any means. My name is Faraz Zaidi. I'm one of the proprietors of the property. I was outside of Pakistan. I moved back about 7 years ago. And at that time, I was building my own house. And my late mother-in-law, whose brother had bought this property in the 70s, and decided to show it to me because she knew I appreciated older things in Lahore. So that was my first view of the house, and obviously I fell in love with it. It was such a large space, reminded me of my grandparents' house, and being associated with Ganga Ram, who is obviously known as the father of modern Lahore, it was a big piece of Lahori heritage that nobody knew about, frankly.
When Faraz Zaidi decided to renovate this house, he thought he was restoring an old structure, but soon he realized he was reviving history. This was the home of Sir Ganga Ram, the engineer who shaped Lahore before partition. What started as a restoration project became a bridge between generations, rekindling memories for his descendants and admirers on both sides of the border. Sir Ganga Ram was more than an engineer, he was a visionary. Born in 1851 near Lahore, he transformed not just this city but also left an indelible mark on Delhi. His education at an engineering college in Roorkee gave him the foundation to blend Indian traditions with Western innovation. As Lahore's chief engineer, his designs weren't just grand, they were deeply functional, built to withstand time, climate, and the needs of the people.
My name is Omar Nabi, and I'm an interior designer based in Lahore. I first saw the property when Kesha Ram, great-great-granddaughter of Sir Ganga Ram, was visiting Lahore. And there is a society which tags historical places in Lahore, and they had done an event there. And sort of, I suppose in some sense, was made the first time the property was made public. I was fortunate to be invited. Sir Ganga Ram has always been my hero, my icon, and I was fascinated to be there. It was a magical space. The house itself, while it was in a sad state of decay, but it still maintained its grandeur. And it was a truly beautiful space. So yes, it was, as an interior designer, I was like, wow, if I got this project, that would clearly be the highlight. And I was very happy that months later, I get a call. It was like, my dream come true, that Faraz and Ali Hassan, they asked me, would you be interested in doing this? As I said, it was a dream come true, and I was super excited, and yes, I grabbed that opportunity in a second. Lots of interventions had been made by the dwellers since partition, by the new dwellers of that space, based on their lifestyle and needs. A couple of key things being that there was a veranda in the back courtyard, which had been converted into a room. And from the inside, it was a room, but from the outside, you could see that it was a veranda which had been converted because the columns were popping out from the wall, and et cetera, et cetera. So the key interest was to maintain the original integrity of the house. That was my brief by my clients also, and that was my interest also, that, we have to keep the integrity of the space. We have to make it feel like we're still in that era while making it completely comfortable for a modern lifestyle. The house basically did not require too much, in the sense that it really spoke for itself. Okay, here I've been wronged, fix me. I mean, that's how I took it, Right. But it was a great experience. I loved doing it, particularly because of the fact that it was Sir Ganga Ram's house. He had always been my hero. I was born in Sir Ganga Ram Hospital, and I've always associated Sir Ganga Ram as one of the makers of Lahore.
Despite his passing in 1927, Ganga Ram's legacy was fractured by the partition. His family moved to India, but his contributions remained in Pakistan. I have a small personal story. Umar Saab, you spoke about Sir Ganga Ram Hospital. I was in Lahore for a course about 15 years ago, and all the batchmates were going around one fine evening, and one of my friends showed me this hospital. So I was surprised. I saw Sir Ganga Ram Hospital in Lahore because we know there's a Ganga Ram Hospital in Delhi. So I asked him about this hospital, and he told me a very interesting story that Sadat Mantu had written a story. He said during the times of partition, there was a lot of chaos and violence. And there was one statue of Gangaram just outside the hospital. And people started stoning that statue or doing something, trying to desecrate that. But one of the persons got injured. And then others started shouting, let's take him to the Gangaram hospital. The statue that they were trying to bring down was of Gangaram itself. So that is an interesting story that he told me. The process of renovation, you made it sure that the aesthetics, the past atmosphere that was created by Gangaram remained undisturbed.
Yes, generally that was always the intention. We didn't make any changes in the house. The bathrooms were completely ripped up. They had been changed by the future dwellers. So we brought them back in Tarazu, but we made them very modern and comfortable. It was so if you think of it that let's say Gangaram's family continued to live, the ancestors continued to have lived in that space. The modern lifestyle changes that they would have made themselves, within that property, that is the kind of aesthetic we followed. So the bathrooms are very comfortable, the spaces are identically the same, it's just cleaned up. So yes, while we did make some changes, and sadly, because we had no documentation of the original property, we tried hard, but we couldn't find any images to show us what it may have looked like before. So we used our own sort of imagination and aesthetic, but we used the materials of that era, and so that when you visit, you really do feel like it's a very, very well maintained 1928 home.
When you go to Lahore, you see so many parks and public spaces. Perhaps his hand in that also. Faraz Saab, what is the plan now? Now that the house is renovated, what's the plan now?
This is an interesting question because we actually, for once in my life, I didn't make the plan first and then execute it. We said, isko humne sahi karna hai, and then we'll figure out the plan. And just to go back to Sir Ganga Ram and his impact in Lahore, I actually live in Model Town. Model Town is probably the best designed place in Lahore, maybe the subcontinent, and it was Ganga Ram who helped put it together. But to your question, what are we planning on doing with the space? So it was, what I told Umar was, I didn't want to make it a museum. I wanted it to retain its integrity, but it should be used for events. So it's primarily not a money-making enterprise, although, that would be nice.
When Ganga Ram's family heard about the renovation, they knew they had to return. Faraz and Umar welcomed them with open arms. This wasn't just about bricks and mortar. It was about shared heritage, about Lahore's golden past, and a future where history isn't forgotten. Umar Saab, you were telling me that the family members of Sir Ganga Ram visited Lahore, and that's the time that you sort of interacted. What did they say? What were their feelings about the place, the hospital, the residents, and the way that there's a plan to renovate it?
So when Kesharam Hinsdale, the great-great-granddaughter of Sir Ganga Ram, she's a US senator, visited, I didn't really have a chance to converse with her very much, to be honest. But she was clearly, visibly very touched for seeing her great-great-grandfather's property. She was also very emotional, very somber. At some point, she just wanted to be alone in one of the rooms. So obviously there was a sense of connection. She gave a speech. She talked about how her grandfather used to tell her stories of this lovely home in Lahore where he grew up. And so she was obviously very emotional.
This is about 2 weeks ago, I think. I got a WhatsApp call from an Indian number. Uh, so I figured I should pick it up. You don't get that every day. And this lady said, "My name is Parul Datta, and I am the great granddaughter of Sir Ganga Ram. And a friend of mine has shared pictures of this house. And I can't tell you how happy I am because I've been looking for it for 20 years. So this house was basically where it was. It wasn't accessible from the main road. It was just Chupawata. So, so I said, "Great, that's wonderful." And she said, "Oh, by the way, I'm coming to Lahore in 10 days." And I said, "Great." So we had, and I said, "You can stay at your ancestral property because our rooms are ready." So we had Parul and we had Radhika Seth, who are two direct descendants of Sir Ganga Ram, and then Miss Radhika's husband and one of the other great daughters-in-law, Seema from Hong Kong, and they spent, I think, 4 or 5 nights with us.
Today, Sir Ganga Ram's vision stands tall, his architectural marvels defying time and borders. This house is no longer just a home, it's a monument to a shared past, a beacon for the future. Zafar Iqbal for Mojo Story.
It is a place for poets. It is a place for, I mean, it's the high culture of Pakistan is Lahore, and we're very, very proud of it. And hence the saying, "Jinne Lahore ni vekhya jamya nahi." Tusi te jam gaye ho, tusi te vekh liya Lahore.
Yes, and I remember when I was in Lahore, I also saw a play of Baba Bulle Shah in one of the theaters, Ajoka or something. I saw that play also. So it's there's a lot of cultural value attached to it.